Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patreon, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So a massive shout out of appreciation to Open Minded, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Mike, Henrik86, Muted, Dick Earth Skeptic, theflatearthchannel.com, Chris Hillman, NA Literalist, Steve ALM, Maria Neelands, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Rob H, Burn Fat Till My Stomach Is As Flat As the Earth, Nathan Thompson, The Real Gabster, Windrider, Missouri Bear, Liam Nedrick, Dank, Owen Jennisons, Abraham Mohammed, Dave Rakia Gafford Naibai, Adrian Quintana, Skeptic936, Life is Short, Fireball X, Felix Hung, Texas Mike, Edwin Johnson, Kirsten Smith, Tina Baker, Alexander Main and David Wayne Foster. So a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now we are joined by a couple of people in G Plus and Discord, so I'll raise the mic on them and you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
Presenting something which isn't real.
Right. Morning, Nathan.
Morning.
Good morning, Nathan.
Did you record yet, Nathan?
Always consider me recording. Always.
Oh, jeez. Because I wanted to talk to you about something. Can I talk about it anyways?
You can do what you like. I'm not your boss.
All right. What is your evidence that Roger MC is soundly?
I don't have any. I've got
Right.
Brian.
Right.
Brian.
No evidence.
Heard,
Gotcha. I know. The word of somebody. That's not evidence, right?
but I don't care. I'm not interested in the subject whatsoever.
All right. But I can't just have somebody banned for no evidence, right?
Somebody with what? A bazillion troll accounts?
How do you know that?
Because he's got a bazillion troll accounts?
Yeah, but how do you know that?
Because I've seen them all. Every time I ban him, he reappears, spouting the same exact shit. He's never said a word in the Hangout.
Are you sure you banned him more than once? Because he only has like one account from what I know.
In Discord?
Yeah.
I don't know about Discord. I'm talking about on YouTube.
Oh, okay. Well, that's your channel. That's a separate thing, isn't it? Like he behaves here, and if he behaves here, then we should be cool to go, right?
He's just
Behaves.
taking up space. He
Doesn't talk.
involve. Yeah. He
Doesn't
doesn't
talk.
talk at all.
Sorry, Nathan. Say that
He
again.
doesn't talk.
Right, and you can have him off your channel, like when he talks, but it doesn't mean he has to be banned from the entire Discord kind of thing, right?
That's up to you.
Okay, that's simple then.
Ban his ass.
No. There's no need for that. He's been around for a long time, and Betty even says he recognizes him from even when before Soundly came on the scene. I'm like, really? And I even went to Chemo to see if he had that video evidence, and he said no, and he doesn't think it's Soundly either. So,
Yeah, as I said
like
originally,
that.
I do not care. It's akin to the discussion with Anthony Riley about him whispering to GeoStreamer. Who cares?
Oh,
The subject is not
right.
has moved so far on beyond these individuals and their behaviour. We're talking about the nature of reality, not some dude. I couldn't care less. But that's what they want
Right.
to talk about, right? They want to discuss it to the nth degree.
Right, but we shouldn't get suckered into talking about it then.
That's my point. I don't care. I don't care who he is. Just
Right.
some troll, some faceless, nameless troll.
Well, I guess that's settled.
It's the same when people start talking about some bet they've made over an outcome, that when it falls in their favour, rather than focusing on the detail about how they've won their argument, they focus on the fact that the person's refusing to pay them this stupid bet, and that's the thing that gets dwelled on. And I'm like, what? Why? Currently, in terms of, let's just focus on somebody we do know, so Soundly, he's describing the geometric horizon, which was formerly known as Earth curvature, the thing that blocks boats and buildings, as word salad. Well, that's because they're dead in the water with their geometric physical sphere Earth model. So what does he want to soundly, presumably want to focus on? Anything but that.
There's a Glover that could give a rebuttal to that, apparently. Voice chat.
Right, I hear what you're saying. But if like flat earthers also like buy into this drama, like, and they're starting talking about drama, we should also ignore that also, right?
Yeah. Is there
Because
an example
we're
where I
also
haven't?
guilty of that side.
Give me an
Whose
example.
side you on, Righteous?
Give me an example where I haven't done that. Or are you just saying generally?
All right, Brian complaining about Roger MC being soundly, that is focusing on the drama.
But I haven't focused on it. He said it, and have I brought it up since? No. When it gets brought up in the chat, I refuse to acknowledge it. I'm not interested. If they're not discussing the actual debate subject, I'm not interested. Now, I appreciate it. It frustrates me because that's what I see them wanting to do. Let's talk about whether or not Roger MC is sounding. I couldn't give a shit. Your globe model's dead. Think I give a crap about this little individual? No, I don't.
Right. Okay.
So can we stop talking about him?
Well, yeah, we can start talking. I mean, shouldn't even use that as an example because there's lots of examples where I noticed our side is guilty of the same things. So that was basically kind of my focus. Like even myself, like I can't, I can say that I've been guilty of some drama too, I guess.
No, I agree. I see it all the time on our own side. You've heard me lecture Spurs. Well, the reason I lecture him is because I see him behaving in a manner that's unacceptable, just generally speaking. Now, the fact that I can actually highlight that to him doesn't mean I've got any control over him, doesn't mean I've got any right to demand that he changes, but I can highlight that I feel, my personal opinion, is that his behaviour's not right. In certain aspects. I'm not going to detail what, but when they come up, you'll hear me. I was like, oh, Spurs, you were doing so well. Because half the time people want to focus on people. And it's pathetic. It's very lowbrow.
Yeah, you got to focus on the argument. You can't tell people how to think. They're going to think how they want to think.
Yep.
Completely agree.
Yeah, we're not the thought police.
Well,
already
on your show, you can't be the top police. I mean, it's your show. It's your house, right?
Yeah, but I can't control what people think.
Right.
Yeah, I can set the rules for my show, so I'll keep control of the show.
Right.
But that's very different.
Yeah, you made it more clear. I apologize. You're right.
That said, the fact that you've brought it up, I'm grateful for, Righteous, because it means that I get to express that particular viewpoint to an audience right now. So rather than us hashing over whether or not Roger MC is soundly, I've detailed that I'm not interested in the personalities here when we're destroying a fundamental religious worldview.
And
Nice, so
destroy it, we are.
So that means I'm off the hook. Nice. Excellent.
You were never on the hook. What would you have been on the hook for?
Well, I kind of don't want to start things kind of thing, so that's why I kind of wanted to talk about it offline without the recording.
Look, this is a server that you dedicate a lot of your time to. All I do with this server is take from it. So in terms of how the servers run, that's more your business than my business. In other words, you're the
Right,
boss,
but I'm
not
also
me.
Right, but I'm also trying, when you're running your show, it's your show, so we're supposed to also assist you, right? So,
and I'm very, very
it's like
grateful
a mutual
for it.
thing.
I'm very grateful for it too.
So it's like a mutual thing. You help our servers, and we help you. So it's kind of like you know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, it's mutually beneficial, but by the same token, in terms of the actual input, the benefit you get from me is tertiary, as a consequence of me taking. Do you see what I mean?
Say that again. I got distracted.
It's all right. I was saying the benefit to the server is tertiary. You might get a few new people because I expose it with a link daily, right? But in terms of my input, do I do anything with the server? Zero. The answer is no. I don't do anything. What do I do? I take from the server. I use the server, right? Well, that's me taking. But as a tertiary benefit, the server might grow a little bit.
Right.
But I do essentially nothing to just take from it. So I'm very, very grateful, and I say that often. Because I am.
Well,
A very
Eddie
well-managed
and I are
server.
grateful too.
It's a well-managed server because of people like you who are actually concerned about it. You know, didn't care, you wouldn't care, right?
I
Yeah,
suppose,
Righteous is too good. He's too fair, Righteous.
He's not prepared to get up. He is prepared to get up people's noses for what he perceives to be. Sorry to talk about you in the third person. What he perceives to be right and wrong. If this is right, then I'll stand by it. If this is wrong, and it doesn't seem to matter which side you're on, right, Righteous? You don't
I
care.
know. Sometimes he's just too fair.
Too fair. You mean it should be? It should be a bit less even.
Sometimes I wonder whose side he's on. I'm only kidding, Righteous. You know I love you.
I've had the same thing said to me, right? When I started this debate, that's all I got from my own side. Constant attack from flat earthers saying you're supporting the trolls.
But I will say Righteous is the perfect guy for this. You don't take no crap on either side.
Yeah, that's
yeah,
why
Righteous is
I
a
empathise with
class
him.
act.
Yeah, totally agree. And I can totally see it from his perspective because I've been in exactly the same boat when I first started doing the debate. All people saw at the start of the show was what you'll see on some of the spin-off shows, shall we call them, that have risen up since I've done the debate. Well, on those shows, I've said this many times, you go back to between 0 and 100 maybe, and on those shows, it's a very similar deal to what my competitors, if you want to call them that, they're not, I see them as all on the same side, but nevertheless, that's a YouTube perspective. The people who do those shows have got a similar show to I have, and I can understand why people would view that as them supporting the counter argument, the troll argument. And I got the exact same criticism. Now, maybe, looking back on it, the people who were criticising me at that particular moment in time were valid. Now, I didn't see it that way. But looking back on it, you think, well, yeah, I can see how you would see it that way. I don't necessarily agree that I was in any way, shape or form supporting Globe Earth by entertaining their arguments, and in many instances losing. Got to start somewhere. Yeah, I empathise with you. You've got a difficult time of it sometimes, Righteous. The other thing I quite like is when people appeal to me about, not necessarily you as an individual, but how the server's operated, I can just throw my hands in the air. There's been multiple times that people on both sides have come to me and said, this isn't fair. And I've gone, I don't have any involvement in that. It's not mine. I don't manage it. I'm very grateful that I get to use it, but it's not my place to say, yeah, that's reasonable, or no, that's not reasonable. It just isn't. Plus, I bet you could do without it, right, Righteous?
Well,
Nobody likes people moaning at them.
say that again.
Nobody likes being moaned at.
Well, I think Zerings put it. It's like you can't like make. You can try to make everybody happy, but there's, I guess.
Yeah, you can make
Can't
some
be
of
a
the people
people
happy
pleaser.
some of the time, but you can't make all of the people happy all of the time.
Hey, Nathan,
Yes.
have you seen Ford versus Ferrari yet?
No, not yet, I'm afraid.
Oh, you got to check it out.
Don't want to
That's
watch
all I'm
anything
gonna say.
like that till I've got my amp back from repair. So undoubtedly that'll be like lots and lots of loud noises and deep bass. Well, currently I'm using like a backup amp, which has only got about 50 to 100 watts, and I'm using it with a 1,000 watt subwoofer, so it just clips. It just goes bzzzt when it hasn't got the power to do what it's supposed to do, and it kind of ruins it a bit. It's fine when it's quiet, it just doesn't got enough power. So I'm waiting to get that back. Once that's fixed, then I'll be like full on movie and music nights. But for now, I'm
I
just
think
gonna...
you'll like it.
I'm sure I will.
Is
I
the
can't wait to
Google
watch
Hangouts
it.
out?
They talk a lot about the technical side with the building of the cars. You'll definitely like it.
Yeah, I really like Ferrari. I just think Ferrari are just a cool manufacturer. Just their general attitude towards stuff is just cool. And I quite like the fact, in a way, that the cars aren't that well manufactured. Although that's changed of recent years. You know, they were always held together with zip ties and dreams. But beautiful engines.
Yes. You're right, because there's. I won't say anything. Just watch it. You'll see what I'm talking about.
Did the Google Hangout link get forgotten about, or
No,
I'm
10th
not
man
seeing
came
it.
in, but then he dropped back out again. He's still here, 10th. Yeah, still here.
Yeah, I'm here.
How come I don't always see it? 10th, can you post the Google Hangouts, please?
I'm going to post it again.
Yeah.
I put it in Bulbusters and Master B every day.
Yeah.
You
for
don't
some
see the
reason
Master B righteous?
Yeah, could you post it? Like when you post it, it works.
Yeah, I'll do it again.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry
okay.
for interrupting. I just
Yeah.
thought maybe you forgot, but I guess if you haven't forgotten after all these years, then yeah.
No, I seen it when it went up.
Yeah, I don't see it. Like, let me type test again.
Yeah, back when I was a rep, I was into all these exotic cars, and I did track days in Lambos and Ferraris and stuff because I had the money to do it. And I went to see a Lamborghini, not because I was actually considering buying it, but in the back of my mind, you know what I mean. It's one of those. So I went and looked at this. I think it was an LP 640, a Murcielago, and I said to the dealer, What is this? Looking in the engine bay, so I try and set the scene. I'm looking at the engine bay, and it just looks like shit. You know, it's hard to explain how I mean. It looks like it's flimsy and it's all falling to bits. It's not. It's how it's supposed to be. But I'm looking at it going, this looks terrible. I'm like, is this actually carbon fibre? It's like, no, it's just a panel that covers up. It's like a beauty panel. It just covers all the shit. So I'm like, so it's just a surplus to requirement carbon fibre panel that doesn't do anything. He's like, yeah. He's like, it's all like that. And then he gave me that saying. He's like, the whole thing's held together with zip ties and dreams. that's the dealer.
He knew his customer base.
But he's just honest, because it wasn't like he could hide it. You know, it was glaringly obvious when you looked at the thing that it just wasn't quite. It wasn't like a Ford that's come down a production line and everything fits in the same way every single time. You know, and if there's a design flaw, then every single one of them will have that design flaw. It's not like that. Everything kind of doesn't. It's all kind of. I don't want to say it's handmade because it is and it isn't. You know, it's hand finished in most instances, but it just looks it.
Yeah, there's a
scene in that movie where they go through that.
Again?
I said there's a scene in Ford versus Ferrari when they go to the Ferrari manufacturer and they meet the guy and they show you how each thing is made by one man put together. Then this man does this man does that. And then they only have 30 cars done. Meanwhile, Ford has pumped out like 1,000.
Right.
But they take you to the technical parts of it too, so you'll like it.
I've seen the Ford manufacturing process. I remember watching a documentary about the F50, the one that, not the one from the 60s, but the one maybe 10 or 15 years ago, maybe a bit longer, that came out. And they showed the manufacturing process, and they did it in a matter of months, but with a big team, one guy running the whole team. And the thing that stuck out to me was all of the engineers are working on this car, right? And it comes to a part where they're building the door, and they show him the prototype for this door, and it doesn't have a proper window. So it's got like a sliding window, like on a race car. And it's like, no. It's like, it needs to have a real window. You need to get in the car, be able to wind down the window. It's a car. You know, and this is just, it's like, it's hard to explain the guy, because he just seems like a regular Joe. He's obviously quite high up in Ford. He's making the top of the range sports car, the sort of flagship Halo car. But by the same token, he's a very grounded, down to earth guy, and he's like explaining it to these engineers. No, it needs a normal window. It needs to be able to open. And they're like, oh, it just slides. Can't get it to go down all the way because of all the ducting. He's like, I don't care. Make it go all the way down. Anyway.
Yeah.
Whereas Ferrari,
and the one scene in the movie.
I was just going to compare that. Just 1 second. I was just going to say, I got this line from James May when he was actually talking about a Maserati, and he's talking about the ergonomics, and he goes, the ergonomics in this Maserati is like they've decided where the air conditioning button go, and some Italian's gone, here'll do, here'll do. Ford, the window must open. It must work like this. The customer's going to want to open the window. Ferrari, yes, it's a window. It's slide the window. It's okay.
On the first lap of the Le Mans race, what's his name? Christian Bale can't get the door closed. So the whole lap he's driving around and he cannot get the door closed. So he's got to pull right back in after the first lap. It's funny. You got to see it.
Yeah, I can't wait. Like I say, as soon as I get my big amp back from repair. Been about approximately 10 years, and I'm not even joking, since the system that I've had has actually worked. Now, by that, what I mean is everything's actually functioning, not broken. It's never actually been at that since probably, I don't know, for a few years when I first got it complete, and then bits started breaking, and it's never been actually fully functional since. I've never had the money to do it. Hey ho. But hopefully, fingers crossed.
Yeah.
You're on mute. No, he's not. Hey, Kosho.
Howdy, Mr. Nathan.
You're a bit quiet.
Sorry, I was far from my mic. I said, howdy, Mr. Nathan.
But howdy, how you doing? Good to have you.
All right.
Mr. Kosho. Right, 5 minutes and we'll start.
Maybe somebody will produce some scientific evidence today. There's always a chance.
Well, their first thing they posted is a link to Mick Toon's video about how flat earthers are liars when they say that the horizon rises to eye level. That's the first thing out of the gate.
Oh yeah, who cares what the horizon's doing? It's not a physical sphere edge.
Exactly.
At least I got them talking about, they swung out of the gate really early talking about me, and I dropped the claim, if the earth is flat, talk about me. If the earth is a globe, talk about the globe. And then they got stumped and they were quiet for about 10 minutes until they finally decided to Google something.
I like that. If Earth's flat, ad hom the hell out of me. If Earth's a globe, tell me all about it.
Yeah, I use it all the time. I also do I don't care about your feelings, and keyboard warrior, come in voice chat and talk to me. And another, in the chat, they call my mantras. I'm like, yeah, because at some point this will sink in that I don't care about your feelings. If you're going to be a keyboard warrior, I'm not really going to read it. And if you're going to talk about me, I know the earth is flat because you're talking about me and not this, this globe that you think is true.
Yeah, it's back to talking about personalities, very lowbrow stuff when we're detailing the nature of reality itself. Pretty much opposite ends of the extreme, I would say.
Well, if they spend more time showing us Earth-based Coriolis rather than saying to us why we can't observe or experience Earth-based Coriolis, that might be a start.
Hey, Paul.
Good morning. How's everybody doing this morning?
Good, Paul. No takers in Discord on that Earth-based Coriolis?
Roll up to the Ball Earth Circus.
Kosher is normally pretty savvy when it comes to the Coriolis effect, aren't you, Kosher?
It'd be great because once we understand what causes Coriolis, then we're all on the same footing, same foundation. So why don't we start there?
Find a point of agreement and then go out to where the disagreement is and then hash it out. Instead of starting at the end point, why not start the beginning point if your goal is science, logic, and reason?
Well said.
I like the parable I use for that is like pretend we're both cavemen. We both walk out of the cave, and I say ugh, and you say the earth is a lava-filled, water-covered space ball. Okay, how would you?
That was funny.
Hello.
Hey, Arvin.
Hey, Owen. Hey, you early? What's going on?
Yeah, my computer crashed.
Oh no!
Yeah, it crashed like right before I wanted to run out the show. So
did you end your live stream? Did you actually end it? Did you actually log back into OBS and stop the live stream?
No.
Have you stopped the live stream? Have you looked?
The live stream was stopped because my entire computer crashed.
Yeah, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the live stream is stopped.
Yeah, well, in OBS is just forced shutdown, then it does.
Fine,
actually.
As long as it's not running, because that's not
I
a good
checked.
position to be in.
I checked. It's not.
Fine. Happy days. Well, no, good that you near the end, I hope.
Yeah, it was funny. It's like 5 minutes before the end, but I started 5 minutes before the normal start. So in the end.
Oh, so you still got your full hour?
Right. I just didn't really have the outro part and all that.
Yeah, the lowest percentage of people see that anyway.
But it was a good show.
Excellent.
Lots of personal stuff.
Good to hear.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. Now we are joined by Arwin, Paul Hall, 10th Man, Righteous Force, Chocolate Sane, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Good morning.
Good afternoon.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Evening.
Evening.
Good morning.
Have we got an Aussie or a New Zealander in? Someone said evening.
Yes, you do.
Which one?
Globus.
No, I mean New Zealander or Australian?
Australia.
Australia, woohoo! Well, hey, shout out to all the people in Oz. What time is it there where you are?
It's 11 p.m.
11 p.m, not a bad time to be on. Not a terrible time. I think that's probably why I picked it up after weighing up all the different time slots. 2 p.m. UK seemed like a reasonable time. You might catch some early people in the States. You might catch some late people in Oz. Happy days. Any evidence of a physical, geometric, sphere edge horizon tangent point, formerly known as Earth curve?
Not from Green River Golf Club.
Not from Gold Coast, Australia.
Not without
Orange
geometrical
County hasn't
considerations.
seen
Go on, Ryan.
Said Orange County hasn't seen shit.
Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
Nope.
No. Now the stars are apparently rotating about it. Yeah, around the observer, technically. And one could mistake that for some kind of literal physical motion. But yeah, that's a mind experiment. That's a thought experiment.
Well, according to the ballers, all they have is a so-called pendulum and weight change, right? That's all they got. And aren't those both dependent upon location? So really, you could say the location is causing those things and not the spin. The only things in there.
No, the location is not a viable phenomena either.
No, the location's not the cause. The cause is Earth turning underneath at 15 degrees an hour, according to their claim.
I know, but I can take my weight and move it to a different latitude and the weight changes. Or I can move this pendulum to different latitudes and it changes its orientation or its precession. So that's proof of Earth spin. Come on.
No, it's not.
That's,
you're claiming Eötvös effect, right? So Eötvös effect is a formal logical fallacy. Right, so this isn't scientific evidence. This is affirming the consequent formal logical fallacy. If Earth is a sphere, I will observe different weights at different latitude lines. Let's just break down the if P statement, right? What are latitude lines?
An arbitrary thing that we just did on the ground that aren't real, kind of thing.
Yeah, but what do they refer to specifically?
Well, also I think they were derived from the sky, though, weren't they? The way the stars and the things rotate originally. Isn't that where it started?
Well, what are they referencing on the ground? Your position on a...
Well, on a globe, yeah.
So you're begging the question.
Exactly.
So what you're saying is, if my position on a presupposed sphere Earth, then weight change with the whatever it is you're weighing, and I observe weight change, not that you're necessarily going to show this, they give you a mathematical graph to justify it, but they assert it, therefore Earth my presupposed sphere with latitude lines. So it's an affirming the consequent formal logical fallacy, and it's not scientific in any way, shape or form. It's purely mathematical in terms of the evidence that they will give you should you challenge them. Anything else?
Okay, ballers. I was just trying to help the ballers out. I thought that might have them come in and try to defend those positions, but I don't think it's going to work.
Just check it out when, I think if it's labelled as such, but the server owner actually got into a debate many years ago with GeoStreber, and the Eötvös came up. The Eötvös effect came up. And Betty von Velsen absolutely pummeled him. It was great. Check it out. Betty van Velsen versus GeoStreber. Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
No, not for the distance.
No, I don't think it is an object to have a specific distance to.
According to the
apparent distances.
According to the ballers, you could actually take a coin and use a coin and look at the sun and figure out the angles, and because you can do the same thing as with an eclipse and determine the distance to the sun, according to the ballers yesterday. Now, I don't know all the math and the angles and the geometry involved with that, but that was their claim yesterday. Using just a coin can do it.
Would they need R for that? Would they need the R value for that?
And they need the sun to be a physical object in a specific location that shines light all the way towards them.
Well, according to them, you don't need the R value to do this.
Oh, yeah.
But you can, according to them, and then they said that you can actually determine the distance to the moon with two people that are just a mile away, that you can determine the distance to the moon So there's
Did
all kinds
they
of stuff
actually
that's
show you the
happening.
mathematics?
According to
Hold
them,
on. Did they show you the maths for that? They say you don't need R for that, right? Did they show you the maths?
No,
that's going to
I
be my
was driving.
question. According to them, when do they not have an R in their arguments?
Never. Let me just clarify. Good question. Never. Shout out to Validation Boy. Every single claim to be proof of a sphere Earth will start with the assumption that you are on a sphere Earth.
Right. And if I may clarify that for a moment, supposedly triangulating distances of celestial objects, right? Well, that only works if you have, within the mathematical framework, a presuppositional basis from which to engage, which would be the orientation of the Earth in relation to the celestial bodies. So if that orientation is a very well-known spherical size, then yes, they can absolutely presuppose, triangulate the distances based on that specific R assumption. But they could also just use a flat plane, and then you can derive different distances from that base presuppositional approach. And then you get the disk model type claims about the specific locations of the light.
And when they do that with disk model, do they know the actual size of the sun when they do that measurement?
Nope.
So they only know the not actual size, the angular size.
Right.
What
they
use is that?
Triangulate it.
What use is that, though? If you don't know the actual size or the actual distance.
Well, it makes it a lot easier to presuppose.
Oh, right. Oh, well, that's wonderful. Yeah, disk Earthers who assume that the Earth is a flat disk with a sun and moon moving around at, what do they say, 3,000 to 6,000 K? Is that what they say for the sun?
Right. Well, that is if they are asked for a specific distance. Although I think that many diskers by now are definitely catching on that. Yeah, even through the Bible, luminaries, lights. So maybe the physicality assumption bias is kind of slowly lifting.
Perfect.
Now.
That's the words I was hoping you would get to eventually. Physical assumption bias, assuming that it is a physical object with an actual size to be measured. Well, until you can confirm what it actually is, making that assumption that your assumptions in terms of the angular size, not actual size of the sun, when you plug in the rest of your maths, assumes that you've got a physical item that will give you an actual size were you to run a tape measure over it. Shout out to Julio Pabon, who's joined as a Penguin channel member. I'll do a quick plug to the channel memberships. If you want to watch the Uncut and After show immediately after it's been recorded, I publish it on Nathan Oakley 1980 channel to all channel members as soon as it's been recorded and rendered. So it's maybe an hour after we finish, to be perfectly honest. But nevertheless, it's about 36 hours later if you want to watch it on the second channel, or at the weekend even longer. So if you want to watch things that have been recorded there and then, become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, as Julio Pabon has just done. Thank you very much for joining.
Hey, Nathan, since they...
Go ahead, 10th man. I heard you first.
Yeah, so since they presuppose, let me see if I get that right. Every claim for a sphere Earth will start that you live on a globe. So since they presuppose that, and we bring up the black swan, then the R needs to be where it should be at 1.22 miles at a 1 foot observer height.
Perfect lead for me to give that housekeeping question. Any evidence that we actually have that R value that you're about to detail how we don't?
That's what we're waiting for, right? But it's a presupposition that you live on a globe.
Black Swan.
And I heard my favorite Black Swan backup vocals there from Chocolate Saint. So if we're on a globe, it needs to be there. It's not there, so they won't give up the presupposition, but we can prove it's not there.
We break the presupposition. So, 2 years ago, or however long, maybe 3 years ago, when it seemed a revelation to point out the fact that they're presupposing the Earth is a sphere with every argument they ever put forward, but they just, even though that's a logical fallacy, the globers just said, well, yeah, that's perfectly acceptable. We are on a sphere. In other words, just demonstrated their zealotry in defence and then stood by it as though that was perfectly acceptable. Now, we have had to go further into debunking a logical fallacy. Now, what that means is that the logical fallacy itself, the assumption of the R value, where they can correlate or could correlate it with their presupposition up until 1st of January 2020, they now can't. Their assumption with the R value requires physicality, the same physicality they used to claim block boats and buildings. Well, that physicality is a physical sphere edge horizon, debunked by the black swan. It's no longer a physical geometric sphere edge for a horizon by their own admission. So it's the end of the model. The R value as an entity to assume is now untenable. Shouldn't need that. We shouldn't have to go to that extent. It's not required. To just point out that they have no evidence, but they're presupposing their outcome, in any other debate would be perfectly acceptable to void their claim. It's a logical fallacy. Now for us here, deep-seated zealotry that we have on the other side of the argument, we have to go to much greater extents. Their standard of evidence is pathetic. They can use one-word challenges. Gravity, refraction. You don't understand. Not really one word. Anyway, our standard is debunk their presupposition from within their presupposition and their own mathematics. That's what we've had to do to debunk the level of zealotry that we have offered here from their side, in terms of they're just assuming that they're right.
P waves and S waves.
Yeah, similar thing. You know, they don't actually present cogent arguments. Just parrot off some nonsense that somebody else has given a vague idea about, and they think that's an argument. For us, whilst being constantly interrupted and told that we're idiots, we have to unpick their very complex lie from within the lie. Now, up until 2020, that was not really that feasible. You know, it wasn't tolerated by their side for you to try picking apart their argument. In other words, you ended up with constant interruptions and the point not being concisely delivered to an audience. Now that we've got the black swan argument, you can concisely deliver that argument to the audience. It has been concisely delivered to an audience, and 8 months down the road, it's starting to sink into our opponents that their model's now untenable. They don't have this edge, as you see on screen, in side view. Would be comparable in their mathematics to their assumption that they have a physical sphere underneath your feet, and that part of that sphere, the edge, is blocking this boat. Well, that's the assumption, that you've got a physical geometric sphere edge horizon blocking boats and buildings. That's what they claim proves the Earth's a sphere. Well, that requires having a geometric physical sphere edge to give them the R value, to correlate their maths inside profile that doesn't give you perspective, with the horizon, which in reality is not physical. It's not a sphere edge. By their own admission, by their own rebuttal, which it isn't, they deny their own physical sphere edge, which they need to claim the Earth's a sphere. It's end of model. It's untenable now.
Mm-hmm.
Any evidence of a molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
No.
No, they're just moving forward to new claims about the moon, remember? They're gonna derive or basically conjure up new stories based on the old unproven molten iron core stories on what other bodies out there presumed to be objects are now supposedly like on the inside, even though they can't actually check it.
One thing I brought up to the ballers yesterday, when it was actually Zanuck, obviously, that was talking about you can do a 1 foot distance between the observers and determine the distance to the moon. I was like, well, if your angles, you can measure angles that well from that short a distance, then you should be able to go to the edge of the moon, each side, and then measure the center, and actually be able to determine, just from a measurement standpoint, whether the moon is a sphere or not. Technically, because if you can do that level of accuracy from 1 mile with angles, then that should be feasible to do from ground-based observation or ground-based measurement. They said, "Oh yeah, that should happen." I was like, "Was anybody ever done that?" Of course, no, nobody's ever done that. Never.
But you can in the future, right? You can go forth and do that to prove it to yourself.
Heck, they've been shooting lasers at it.
Well, that was his strongest argument for the distance to the moon is the radar and laser bouncing off of it is determining the distance. And I couldn't remember the rebuttal that Anthony gave for that. Does anybody remember the rebuttal for that? I can't remember. Can somebody help me out with that?
Certainly.
But the laser.
In terms of the lasers and the reflectors that are claimed to be left on there, there's two things. Number one, they claim to do that before they claim to send men to it. Secondly, they claim to send men to put these reflectors on through a second law of thermodynamics violation. They did not send men through an area that doesn't exist. There is no sky vacuum. It's not real. It's fake. You can't have a sky vacuum. You wouldn't have any gas. So them claiming to send men through a sky vacuum to leave things on a light in the sky called the moon is preposterous and untrue, and has been debunked by natural law. Second law of thermodynamics disproves. Who's got their mic wide open? Second law of thermodynamics disproves the notion of a sky vacuum. Therefore, they did not leave reflectors on the moon. In terms of the Jodrell Bank measurement, that's not of the moon. That's claimed to be bouncing off Venus. Well, they've got a presupposed sphere Earth with a presupposed distance to Venus based on Venus being the same size as Earth in terms of its presupposed R value. Now, when they've got the mathematics for the distances based on all of those presuppositions, they can claim that a radar bounce will come in a certain time frame. So, because we presuppose Earth is a sphere and Venus is the same size, we anticipate our radar return signal will be in this amount of time. So that's where they're looking in the return signal for their confirmation bias, essentially. Well, we expect it to be this amount of time, so that's where we'll look. Now, the fact that they didn't find anything, and then a guy called Bob from JPL comes along and says, I think I can see it in the exact time frame we presuppose when we've got an R-value based Earth and an R-value based Venus. And there it is, look, I see it. Nobody else agrees with him, but they apparently get convinced by this guy called Bob from JPL, and then that's it. It's all been confirmed because they apparently see a return signal in the time frame they were expecting. But the time frame that they're looking, this isn't necessarily Anthony Riley's main focus, but it is mine. The time frame is all based on the assumptions that they've got to begin with. So it's not like they're looking and seeing if it comes back in half a second. They're just deciding based on the time frame that they will get from an R-based assumption when it will come back and looking for it in that time frame. It's just confirmation, not confirmation bias. It's just confirmation bias. That's the right. That is the right term. Any more, Paul?
Sorry, I stepped away from the mute button. No, I think you answered it. So it's really, even if they shoot it at the moon, if you assume its assumption or assume the distance, then you're looking for that ping data in that range. That's pretty much what you're saying, right?
Yeah, they've got the distances presupposed. So in terms of the return signal, they're looking for it within a presupposed time frame, which they've already determined based on the presupposition that the radius of Venus is a rock in the sky. It's not a little light. It's the same size as Earth. It has a physicality. It's in a presupposed orbit. All of the presuppositions that they apply give them the time frame to look for the return signal.
And what did they say they got back? Like 1 photon or something?
Just a load of mess. So that's what, like I say, the people who are looking at it at Jodrell Bank don't think they see anything. They don't think they can see a return signal in the mess. But Bob does, from JPL. And in the literature that Anthony often reads out, it's like Bob convinced us that he could see it. Have we done molten iron core? I think we have, haven't we? Any scientific evidence of gravity?
No. None.
Someone in the chat earlier asked me, what's the difference between everything going down and gravity? Everything doesn't go down. You can debunk that assertion with a helium balloon. Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
Just calculations. They live in the world of math and calculations, not in reality.
Any evidence that you can have? Go on, Paul.
I was going to say, but their argument would be for the balloon would be, well, you got the heavier gas that's kind of going down because of gravity. It's pushing the balloon up. That would be their argument.
Gas doesn't go down. It doesn't have an exclusively downward vector. Gas expands in all directions. So to assert this gas has weight is to assert that gas needs sweeping up. No, it doesn't. It expands in all directions to fill the availability of volume it has to fill.
But come on, at some point it must go down, go boom, boom again. Come on.
Well, based on
their
scenario, we're next to the blackness of outer space with 10 to the minus 17 torr value vacuum, and it wouldn't even have a chance to go down. It would just fill the available space.
Yeah.
How do you get around that?
Yeah, you can't. Gas doesn't go down, go boom, boom with an exclusively downward vector. So, no evidence you can have gas pressure without a container then?
Yep. Try it. See if you can do it.
Let's just ask it. Has anybody got a demonstration of gas pressure without containment?
Well, I was actually thinking about, there's no evidence actually, but I was just thinking about this morning. They always argue like when you put a glass of water in a vacuum chamber and you suck out all the air and the water starts to boil away, that there's other factors that doesn't keep the water in the sorry about that, my coffee pot's going off. There's other factors that's why the water does not stay in a cup in the vacuum chamber, right? Well, what are those factors? Well, there's heat, there's kinetic energy within the molecules themselves, there's all kinds of factors. Well, if we're at the strongest point of gravity here on Earth, right? Supposedly, even under Einstein so-called gravity, then the gravity should keep the water in the cup, right? Even in a vacuum chamber. Am I right in that thinking, if that gravity is what's holding everything on here?
Yes, on a much, much, much smaller scale, you've got the same thing that they claim. You've got a layer of water, and then you've got gas, tiny, tiny amount in the scheme of space, and then you've got a vacuum. Well, analogous to that, on a smaller scale, is a cup of water in a vacuum, and close to the ground, yeah, the gravity should be capable of keeping that water there. There is no gravity. There's no force of gravity. There is no gravity. So this idea that gravity is somehow giving gas a downward vector, meaning it needs sweeping up at the end, nah, that's nonsense. Number one, we don't have a force of gravity. Number two, gas expands in all directions to fill the availability of volume it has. It doesn't have a downward vector. That concludes
Thank
the
you.
housekeeping. Unless there's something else, Paul. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying thank you for confirming my thought process was correct. That's all.
That's perfect. That concludes the housekeeping.
Have you seen the latest from NASA showing 4K pictures from Mars?
They're not showing 4K pictures from Mars, because that would be a claim of pictures coming from a second law of thermodynamics sky vacuum, violation of natural law. Definitely not going to have pictures taken from it in the same way as you can't take pictures from Narnia. Lies.
I know, they're just claiming.
That's 4K pictures from Devon Island. Come on now, 10th man.
I understand, yeah.
I don't know whether pictures are actually taken, or if they are pictures at all. It's not relevant. Where they claim they are taken from is not a real place.
Pictures not evidence anyway.
One of them I saw the other day looked like some kind of rabbit trail, like animals would be running through it to create a little trail. It was interesting. That sure looks like parts of my property where the coyotes and the rabbits and everybody used to run through the switchbacks of the hillsides.
No, that's aliens.
Arians, rabbits.
I think he said aliens.
Aliens.
Yeah, they can't even show their ISS without wires. So what makes you think they're taking pictures from Mars?
What makes you think Mars is somewhere capable of having pictures taken from it? It's a little light in the sky.
Exactly. Well, they have to keep their pseudo outer space light going, so they got to say it's pictures from Mars.
Yeah, it's not. A little light in our night sky isn't a place capable of being travelled to, especially when they claim the journey would involve travelling through a second law of thermodynamics violation sky vacuum that we definitely don't have.
That kills it right there.
Yeah, all assertions. Go on, Paul.
I always ask the question, what's your verification, what's your proof that Mars is a rock or something in space? Well, calculations, which basically we can calculate it, and also spectroscopy. We can look at the light and tell you what it is.
Right, exactly.
Okay. Calculate
red orange color, and you can make
this is a rock.
What kind of dust the Mars surface is averagely of. Apparently, you can do that.
No, they can claim they can do that with something called stellar spectroscopy. Spectroscopy is a standard which is done by resident expert in this subject, which is Dr. John Dee. Now, Dr. John Dee has explained in detail how when you perform spectroscopy, you isolate everything except for what you are testing. It's very controlled. Stellar spectroscopy, on the other hand, they open up the roof, point it out at the sky and everything that's in it, not in the slightest bit controlled. It's an utter sham.
I'm all done. You guys can move on.
We're just waiting for a wrap up.
Well, to even call it stellar spectroscopy is already too many presuppositions for me. Why don't it should be just celestial spectroscopy versus terrestrial spectroscopy?
But it's not spectroscopy. As I just said, if you're doing actual spectroscopy, you isolate everything from what you're studying, and then you study it.
Right, but you can't do that with celestial light, so it has to be specially categorized. It's technically not the same, but it's very similar.
Can't do it.
Well, they think they can, and they do.
Oh, that's nice.
They can't even show us the R at 1.22 miles. The physical edge.
Yeah, but you don't need the R if you can already prove that, there is a floating rock that is obviously a ball out there. Because what else would Earth be then?
That's a presupposition. Hold on. Stop. That's a presupposition. That's orbits. Orbits is a begging the question fallacy. To assume that the lights that we see in the sky are actually falling around us with a spherical or elliptical trajectory is a begging the question fallacy. It's assuming that the twinkling lights are physical bodies falling around us. That's a presupposition. Whenever you hear the word orbit, say it like I did say, you're begging the question. Because they are.
Yeah, and it's even in the word. They just orbit. They just sphere it. They orbit.
What's an orbit?
Yeah, it's saying orb, as in moving around a spherical surface. Yeah, Arwen, correct. That's just begging the question.
Sphere it.
Yeah, just begging the question. I assume we've got a spherical surface beneath our feet and rocks falling around it. Orbits! That's what it means. When they say that word, just automatically begging the question.
Right. So instead of starting out there, where we know you don't have any possible way of proving it, start here on Earth and show us that physical geometric horizon.
Oh, you mean that one that we can't see?
Yeah. But we see orbits. Why can't we see the geometric horizon according to them?
We can't see orbits. Where do you see orbits?
They're telling us. I'm saying that it's just talk from their side. Okay. Before we go out there, let's just start here. Let's start on the foundation, the place we live on. Show us that geometric horizon that will validate you saying we live on a sphere before we go to things orbiting us.
Yeah, they can't do that. We've debunked the geometric R value, so they can't presuppose it.
So then forget about orbits.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. The maths at the producive challenge would involve an R value. Right.
Yeah, I mean, that black swan kills every single thing with any kind of domino stack up you can do. If you use the black swan properly and you know the Motostolans, then if they want to talk about what's out there, outer space, the dominoes start knocking those things down. If you say, why can't we see it? Well, then it starts knocking those dominoes down. And so it's amazing. All of their arguments are tied to that R.
Funny, I think the Globers who think that we don't see a geometric horizon and think that boats and stuff were being blocked by something physical, maybe they should have like a meeting with Neil deGrasse and Bill Nye and what's the lady, Michelle, because I just watched that video where they've got the three of them basically attacking flat earthers and saying, you know, these are the proofs of that we live on a ball. And this Michelle Thaler lady, her biggest proof is boats going over the curve. Like this is a lady that works for NASA. The only thing the first thing that she said, oh, we see boats going over the curve, and that can only happen because it's curved.
Right.
And then she's like, and then the funniest thing is that right after that, she's like, and there are other proofs that are a bit more obscure, but they're very lovely. I just started dying. Like, so you got lovely proofs, and what was it? What was the lovely proof? Oh, lunar eclipses. We see a curved shadow on the moon. Therefore, we know that the Earth is a ball because the Earth is a ball that's making that shadow.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Like,
that's the first assumption, isn't it? That's all the way back to, in their narrative at least, Aristarchus. So that's the first assumption. That's the genesis of the assumption that Earth is a sphere. Look at a light in the sky and go, well, what do you know? That's got a, in quotes, shadow. And what's causing the shadow? Well, it's Earth as a sphere getting in the way between the sun and it. Earth a sphere. That's the genesis of the assumption.
A spinning ball, not just a ball, a spinning one.
And then Bill Nye backed that up by saying the same thing. We obviously, go out to sea. You see boats going over the curve. The whole time I'm sitting there thinking like, that's kind of funny because that's not what we're being told right now. That stuff that you guys, the experts in huge quotes, are saying, that's not what the guys we've talked to say. Not anymore, at least. And then you got Neil Smoke deGrasse Tyson, who wants to come in and say, well, I wouldn't debate anyone who doesn't step into a debate with objective truth. I don't debate objective truth. And if my side has the objective truth, I won't debate it. And then I wanted to scratch my eyes out.
Well, he's chicken. He's a cop out. That's a cop out.
Yeah, I know.
He likes to drop mics and call it gravity.
Yeah.
It's funny because they traded their
for him. It's already
curve.
Settled.
Yeah, it's settled.
That's the funny thing. For him, it's so maybe him and Vsauce should have a debate because Vsauce doesn't think it says science doesn't prove things, right? So why does one guy know and then the other guy says, well, I don't know that, when the other guy, one guy says it's objective truth. And then, just to add on to the nonsense, I guess because we were talking about him, one of Vsauce's videos shows up in my feed. And of course, it's the one that's how does the Earth rotate? And after going at him, like we did the other day, I was like, you know what, let me listen to this. And not once in the entire video does he suggest that maybe the Earth isn't a ball that's spinning around, or maybe that this hasn't been validated scientifically. Nothing like that. The video was very blatant in this is the Earth as a ball and this is how it moves.
What?
No question. Yeah.
No option to falsify it?
No option.
Wow.
This
It's
is
like
this is the Earth.
Vsauce
The Earth is a ball, and this is how the Earth ball moves.
Revision.
And he had it down, like he was doing the days, talking about sidereal days, solar days, and he had it down to the decimal point. There was no question. And this video is very old. So I'm just looking at it like, well, that's funny, because he put on this video. It says, yeah, I know it's a ball. I know it's a 3D spheroid, but I don't know that science has proven it because science has approved things. Way to go, Mike from Vsauce.
Just adult programming or revision. So where you'd be told the broad strokes of the heliocentric model at a very early age in your education. The revision comes from people like Vsauce. Just in case you forgot how to beg the question, this is how we beg the question of a sphere Earth.
Yeah.
Does this mean they're
it makes
all
it really
group
cool
together?
because he shows up in the video walking up the stairs backwards. So because of his coolness, it makes the video more,
He's doing a moonwalk?
basically up the stairs. That's how he starts the video. I'm just like, this guy's such a clown. Because I've seen other videos where he starts it and he's upside down. It's like, this is like Science Buddies or something. I don't know what the hell this is, man.
So you guys think that maybe all these heliocentric champions might at some point come together and form a heliocentrist debate?
Themselves.
Try to reverse world mirror image what we're doing here to give a better
Well, I think we're
suggestion
gonna
that
have
they
to,
actually
because-
know what the fuck they're talking about.
What was the point of them, again, if Flat Earth is so silly and stupid, right? What was the point of them getting their three biggest, or three of their biggest priests, Michelle, Jabba the Hutt, Thaler, and Smoke Grass Tyson and Bill Nye, the non-science guy? Why does Big Think get all three of them and condense their little videos into one video to shut down Flat Earthers?
Don't forget.
What's the problem?
Don't forget, they got the former president saying and mocking the Flat Earth Society and trying to throw them on us. It's damage control on their side, is the way I see it. When you study our opponent's arguments.
That's how I see it, yep.
Yeah, when you study the opponent's arguments, it's especially now, is they've traded in their physical curve for refraction. Now that's a tell.
And Neil deGrasse gives the biggest tell, because the way he puts it is that somebody could get into a debate with him, and even though he has the objective truth, somebody might be able to best him in the debate because they have more charisma, personality, maybe better tactics, and he feels like he shouldn't even put. No. Wait, let's not talk about truth. Except
isn't that interesting?
His side has the objective truth.
It's the total polar opposite of the reality of the situation. So his standpoint is to say, I have the objective truth. I am right whether you like it or not. However, should I enter into a debate with somebody who's in the contrary position to me, they might have more charisma, they might use debating tactics, they might do things that aren't necessarily in relation to the objective truth. Now, in reality, what do we have here? We have us talking about empirical science. And what do we have on the side of the globe? We have them debating about whether or not Soundly is Roger MC, about how well my show is doing. We have a long string of logical fallacies used to assert the Earth is a sphere, of varying different types, all of which will utilise the begging the question fallacy that Neil deGrasse Tyson's using. I'm right anyway. I automatically assume my position is correct. Not because of any scientific validity, but just because I assume it. Now, so the contrary reality is what we actually have. Neil deGrasse Tyson doesn't have the objective truth. We, on the Flat Earth side, have the objective truth. And what do we face in debate? Debate tactics.
Yep.
Sounds about right.
And Michelle will tell you very easily, well, it's not okay to think the Earth is flat. Every time I hear that, I just want a spinning roundhouse kicker.
Can you post that YouTube video in Master B Chocolate? I'd like to see it again.
But Chocolate, before you, I don't know if it was before you joined, but we were detailing how we don't want to be, or I personally, I don't want to speak for everyone, doesn't necessarily want to approve of people telling other people how they should think. That's not our place. You know, I tell Spurs off for it quite frequently, actually. But that aside, when it comes to the Globe side and their priests, they literally tell them how they can think. Gravity is not a force, but you can think of it as a force. You've been granted permission by a priest how to think. And this other, what's her name again?
Michelle Thaler.
She would assert that you're not tolerated to think about Earth being flat. They tell you how to think on the Globe side. They make it plain how you are supposed to think. Me, I don't care how you think. Believe what you like.
Exactly. And that's the line that she says that irks me the most of all of it. What you mean it's not okay? Who are you? who in the exact, like gonna curse, but who are you to tell anybody what to think, what's okay to think or not? I tell people all the time, look, if you want to believe it's a globe, go ahead. That's fine. Just don't assert to me that it's my reality. Right? This lady will sit there talking about boats going over the curve and it's not okay to think that the Earth is flat. She doesn't know where this came from. What? Man.
Yeah. So her justification is to tell you boats go over a physical geometric sphere edge horizon. Now, that's been debunked. It's merely a mathematical reification, which we have demonstrated here. She has reified mathematics of perspective exclusive curves and called them her world, while simultaneously telling you, unless you automatically assume that the horizon, a not actual, not physical location, is a physical sphere edge that can block boats and buildings, even though it's been debunked right here. If you don't do that, then you are guilty of wrongthink. She's essentially the thought police.
Exactly. Thought police is the first thing that popped up every time from the first time I saw that lady speaking. I was like, oh, thanks, lady. That now that I have your permission to think about what I want to think about, I appreciate that.
And what you need to think about, Chocolate, is the horizon being physical and a sphere edge. It's been debunked, but you must think that. Think of the horizon as being physical, even though it isn't. Think of it as a geometric tangent point. They'll call it Earth curve.
What I'm saying, maybe her and Bill Nye should get together with Rumpus and then figure it out. Because they seem to be on opposite sides of the coin.
They're part of the high priest category. They are immune to this because they will never put themselves in the position to be compromised with a question that will debunk everything they stand for. They're royalty in their world. You know, they come in, know-it-alls. And then, well, I'd never debate a flat earther. What's a waste of time?
Yeah, but that, again, is part of the magic trick. Why would I even stoop so low as to debate these people when I can just as easily tell you how to think and what to presuppose? And then justify it by saying, I'm right whether you like it or not.
Yeah, I have a masterclass.
Here in the name of the video itself, 3 scientists, school flat earthers, like, yeah? Where's the science any of these 3 clowns have done? I'd like to see that.
Yeah, but you see, now that name is going to get, who knows what percentage people will never watch the video, but that name will stick in their head. And the next time one of their friends brings up flat earth, that's what that whole naming of that video was about. Now, you against 3 scientists. No, I don't want to talk about it. How they do it.
I posted it in Master Beat, Tom.
Thank you.
Shout out to Tip of the Day. He says, ballers have Stockholm syndrome. Romanticize the globe. Right. Thanks for the super chat. Tip of the day.
What's great is that anybody on the panel here and on Discord who's been listening to the arguments for any length of time and feels confident with it could take any one of these people on. Anyone.
But it's like one of those things where like you almost want to, like we were talking about, just shouting out to people like Eddie Bravo who've got like a sort of influence, and get him to just start calling these people out. Tell them to come here. You know, you shout out Nathan all the time. Tell these guys, these clowns, Neil deGrasse and Michelle Dollar and Bill Nye, tell them to join the debate. You know? What the hell are we still debating Zanuck and Rumpus for? Nonsense.
Because when you destroy Zanuck and Rumpus, it doesn't destroy their falsehood of this sphere. When you destroy those people, there'll be collateral damage they can't control.
In chess terms, they are pawns.
And that's why the pawn should be called out on a massive scale. And I think Eddie Bravo is one of those people that could start helping doing that. Because even though he might not be the most popular guy in the world, he definitely has a following, and he definitely listens to this. And I think that would be cool, man, if he would kind of jump on that and just start calling these people out.
Shout out to James Richards, who says, if the boat goes over the curve, that curve would be symmetrical in all directions, yet the horizon remains flat. I guess the Earth is a cylinder. No, even if what you're talking about, which is the Earth being something that's like a hill going away from you in the perspective we see in a photograph, if you're taking a picture of the horizon, you're saying, well, the assumption that we've got a physical edge for a horizon would mean that it would bend left to right, and that is the case. It's calculable in their maths. However, you still don't have a geometric physical sphere edge for a horizon that's going over in a cylindrical manner, as you correctly identify, because that requires the assumption that it's a physical sphere edge, and that has been debunked, James. But thank you very much indeed for the super chat. I hate to nitpick with your argument, but some of these older 2017, 2018 arguments, while they had a valid justification for being put forward back in the day, this is why the Black Swan's number one, right? They don't have a physical sphere edge, James. It's game over. They can't assert that it's a physical sphere edge. They're even telling us it's not a sphere edge. We cannot see the geometric horizon. That's Earth curve. That's why it's the end. It's the end. They might phrase it, we don't see the geometric horizon. That's their tangent point. That's their Earth curve. That's what blocks the boats and buildings, according to this NASA woman. That's their proof of Earth being a sphere. Well, it's not physical, it's not geometric, it's not blocking boats and buildings. It can't be both non-physical, non-geometric, and the basis of their worldview, with an assertion that it's blocking things with its physicality. It's just the end of their model. Black Swan is awesome.
That's the beautiful thing. That's where you got to make that connection, right? The Globers that come in here are telling us the very thing that we don't see, we've never seen, is the very thing that lady in that video is telling you blocks boats. Do you see how that doesn't work out, guys?
Yeah, it's time to actually, you're right, Chocolate. Now we're 8 months into the argument, it's time to really boil it down to what this actually has panned out to be. Their assertion is that we don't see a geometric horizon, and the geometric horizon is Earth curve. So their rebuttal to the Black Swan is, we don't see Earth curve. Earth curve only exists in maths. We wouldn't expect to see Earth curve. That's their rebuttal. The model's so dead when they're forced into a position to give us a concession as a rebuttal, because they're never going to concede, but they're forced into a position where their rebuttal is a concession. Earth curve is the geometric horizon, which we're told we can't see. So we don't see Earth curve. Earth curve wouldn't be expected to be seen, and Earth curve only exists in Earth curve mathematics. Earth curve's not real. We don't have Earth curve. Earth isn't curved. Earth's flat.
Yeah, I had a good laugh about that one day, right soon after the Black Swan, and we started getting, we don't see the geometric horizon, it's not there, and all that. I just had to stop and think, like, they're really saying we don't see this thing that they've been fighting for all these years. The very mainstay of their ridiculous narrative. Now they're just saying we don't see it just because we said, hey, guys, why is that horizon that's supposed to be 1.2 miles away? Why is it behind that second platform that's 9 miles away? Why is that? Oh, we don't see the geometric horizon. Well, that's not good.
There's been so many. The geometric horizon can't be seen. You know, those are the quotes. These are quotes from Globers. Now, once you understand that that tangent point is the very heart of their model, with its R-value association and physicality, then you understand that Earth curve is that physical tangent point. Earth curve is physical geometry. Physical geometry is what they're asserting when they say Earth curve, and they're telling you you can't see it. It only exists in maths. We wouldn't expect to see it, except when we assert that you are seeing it, it's blocking boats and buildings. Can't be both. It violates the law of non-contradiction. It's the end for the globe. Black Swan. Had to wait 8 months, though, right, to see how the argument would be rebutted in order to reach the point where you can say they're saying you don't see Earth curve. Couldn't have boiled it down that succinctly 8 months ago, right?
No, you would
I don't
never.
know. I think I did, though. I think I was like, wait a minute, aren't they saying that we don't? Isn't that the thing they used to call the curve? Because they started saying
you're right,
that
Chocolate.
almost immediately.
You're right. I can even remember the pitch that you said it in, and it's the same as the pitch you've just used. You are right. You did say it pretty much straight away. I'm saying it with a smile because it's taken me this long for it to be succinctly summarised when you've been doing it the whole time. So kudos you.
Yeah, you did call it out pretty early.
So sad.
Yep. But I think that at the time when that started to happen, it was really when we started to unravel the Earth curve calculator and what it really was. And then that was, then the Black Swan afterward also. But that's when they started to kind of like mix around the horizons and get really confusing and focusing on terrestrial refraction nonsense.
Exactly, and that was the thing, because they were like, we don't see the geometric horizon, we've never seen it, it's not possible to see it, we have an atmosphere. I'm looking at the Earth curve calculator, and I'm like, there's a section here that says geometric horizon, and it's got a number.
Yeah.
How did you get that number to something you've never seen again? What?
It's just geometrical considerations now.
It's within 5%.
Consideration.
Within 5%, Chocolate. Another shout out to James Richard. Thank you for double tapping the super chat. Really appreciate your support, James. Forget about God and put your faith in gravity, open brackets, small g. Once all people do this, we would end up with today. P.S. Everybody is Truman. Brian, can you pop yourself on mute? Unless you wanted to add something.
0.725.
Not listening, is he?
I don't think so.
Sorry, Brian, you're going to have to go on server mute.
Well, I'm looking up this Michelle Thaler. She's a communications director. She's been in love with space all her life. Talks about wearing an orange jumpsuit to the mall, going to space camps. So
space camps? Ooh.
Yeah. Just her whole life was.
There's no such thing as space camps.
Real, therefore, space is real.
Any assertion that she has been camping in the space vacuum is just a lie. There are no space camps. It's just a total lie. It's bullshit. Can't have a camp in a violation of natural law.
Right, but maybe it was a space-themed camp.
That's what it's supposed to be, space-themed camp, yeah. Let's see. From early as she can remember, Michelle was obsessed with space. Her mom, who raised Michelle and her sister, fascination came when she was about 4 years old.
Very telling right there.
Yeah, 4 years old. Yeah. Okay, here it is. Although money was tight growing up, at 12 years old, Michelle heard about a space camp in Alabama and was desperate to go. She helped pay by way of babysitting, an experience that she jokes turned her off kids. One of the She was also named the best camper at the campus. She got a PhD.
I'll wait for you to get to the sciences.
Yeah, she got a PhD from Georgia State University in philosophy. Oh, then she got NASA affiliated Jet Propulsion Laboratory.
Right, I'm going to cut you off. I've put her on screen so people know who we're referring to. Shout out to Joseph369. He says, the rumpus is right. Earth is level. Okay, I've been paying attention for the last couple of minutes to chat, I'm afraid. But thank you very much indeed for the super chat, Joseph. He is indeed right if he has stated that Earth is level. Earth is indeed level. Shout out to James Richard for his hat-trick super chat. Thank you very much indeed. Is space camp an activity here on Earth? How unfortunate for Globies. That is indeed true. Thank you very much, both of you, for the super chat. Also, there was another one. Alexander, thank you very much for the thumbs up. Really do appreciate your support. Now, if you're watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live on Nathan Oakley 1980, this is where we bid you farewell. A huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G Plus panels for making today's live show possible. Stay tuned once again if you're watching on either premiering stream. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Says that in high school she had a picture of Carl Sagan in her locker. Oh, that does it right there.
Oh my God.
Hang on. This is the best. And aerospace award from Robert Goddard, but then she had an induction into the Space Camp Hall of Fame. I didn't know there was such a thing.
She did Space Camp Hall of Fame.
What the heck is a Space Camp Hall of Fame?
Oh my God. Ask the Globers. What's Space Camp Hall of Fame? What is that?
I'm going to post.
And why is Space Camp not in space? in 2020, why is Space Camp not in space? What's going on, guys?
All right,
Space Camp is still in Florida. It's like, get the fuck out of here.
All right, I just posted it, Master B. If you want to go through it, that's funny as heck. Oh my gosh, Space Camp Hall of Fame. You can't even find your R. You're gonna have to give back all your awards. If Lance Armstrong has to give back everything for cheating on the bicycle races, all these Space Camp people have to give back everything.
I think we should have an award show.
You just,
Flat
10th
Earth
man,
Hall of Fame?
wouldn't you say that was something to actually be worried about? Isn't that the reason why we have the PhDs come here getting so angry? But upon discovery of this subject, they realise that there's something to potentially lose. That once the level of arrogance that I'm right whether or not you like it fades, there's actually some danger that they might lose it all. Their credibility, most dear to them, is the thing that I think they're most concerned about. pride, right?
Yep.
Yeah, like Mr. Phil. What's Mr. Phil doing in your chat every day and all in the arena on 24/7? Like, what is he doing? What's the problem?
Hey, chocolate.
Aren't you putting satellites in space? What you worried about this discussion for?
Yeah,
Chocolate, you
exactly. Let's dwell on this. Let's dwell on this.
keep up with
Exactly,
the
chocolate.
times.
Hold on, let's dwell on
I'm
this for a
sorry.
second. Exactly, chocolate. So, if you're right, you don't tend to care, right? Or if it's insignificant or unimportant, you tend not to care. So for example, ghosts. Anyone here have any deeply concerning views about ghosts that are dwelling in their minds daily? Anybody here at all? Anybody frequent the ghost forums?
No.
Nope. I think it's cool,
I don't.
but
Nope.
I have
Nope,
them.
not
I'm
at
not
all.
gonna dwell upon them like that. I'm
Now,
gonna
if
make
by-
that my entire life focus.
But if by chance you came across, you just stumbled your way into a ghost forum and everyone told you that you were a moron because you didn't believe in ghosts, the following day, would you go back to troll them and tell them how idiotic they were? Or would you go about your day not too concerned either way?
I would probably,
I'd probably
tell them,
forget it in
hey,
like
guys,
a
guys.
half hour.
So I would tell them, hey,
Definitely
did you know the Earth is freaking flat?
That's not where I was trying to compare, but
No, but
yes,
I see what he's saying, and no, I wouldn't. I would forget about it in a half hour because it meant nothing.
So by
The only thing
contrast,
that means something or something that means something.
So by contrast, getting the former president of the United States to say we don't have time for a meeting of the Flat Earth Society, that would be pretty much at the other end of the extreme then.
Exactly, because what is the president talking about it for? Why? First of all, if the president said it, somebody wrote it for him to say. He didn't come up with that himself, especially that president. That president couldn't speak without. He couldn't speak without a teleprompter. So why was it so significant that somebody had to write in his little speech, "We don't have time for a meeting of the Flat Earth Society"? What's
How
that
do you think
about?
that about Obama? I thought he was quite. I've seen him interviewed a couple of times, and I thought he was quite eloquent.
He's terrible without a teleprompter.
Oh man, if his thing
Terrible.
is not
He's
prepared,
stuttering.
he's
stuttering
horrible.
every time.
He stutters more than Rumpus without a teleprompter.
It's true. Yep.
He stuttered over the line about.
He might.
He stuttered over the line about Flat Earth Society when he said it in a different way. So he said they would have thought we were founding members of the, and he didn't quite get the. He couldn't quite read it off the teleprompter correctly. I seem to remember. They would have thought we were founding members of the Flat Earth Society, I think was the line, but he managed to cock it up.
Yeah, I can't recall it, but I've seen it so many times. Like, what is he talking about it for?
Why are they getting so-called scientists, actually pseudo-scientists, to gather around a table and demolish flat earthers in a little circle jerk?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Big think. What are they doing? If anything, you're bringing more attention to flat Earth.
We got there.
Helping us.
I love chocolate. You are fantastic. So, what was it? Can you just repeat that, please, chocolate? It's almost like it's permeating through the masses in a different way.
Yeah, I mean, if this was not a big deal, you wouldn't bring it. You wouldn't make a video about it. You wouldn't talk about it. But big channel like Big Think, that's all about science and all about this crap, and then they have to put together a video that's called 3 Scientists School Flat Earthers. Like, what are you doing that for? Why are you paying us any mind if this is so silly, right? So
Someone said it was damage control.
because you're putting the message out there.
Was it you, 10th Man, that said it's damage control earlier?
I can't recall.
Somebody said it's damage control,
Yeah.
damage limitation.
Yeah.
If I was to
Yeah,
postulate
10th Man
that
said
it's...
it. I agree.
What if I put
In that case, I said it.
Well, I was going to put the contrasting point, actually. So what if it's actually not that way round? It's actually a controlled release. And the logical way to do that is to first soften up people to the idea of it in the negative.
So we're going to start with losing our geometric horizon first.
No, that's not what I mean. I mean, if you've got...
I know.
In terms of how it's gone on YouTube. So initially, when it was a very, very niche subject, the algorithm allowed us to be publicised in the same way as any other YouTuber. But then there was a halt drawn to that a couple of years ago. But in my mind, the sensible thing would have been to just leave it at that. But they didn't. They instead replaced the promotion for anti-flat earthers. Well, that's still putting the idea into the consciousness of the people. It doesn't matter that it's in the negative. There's no such thing as bad publicity long term.
I guess if you're coming from that perspective, from where you're coming, that could be a possibility. But I just see it for what it is. They're losing and they're embarrassed, so they got to now lose their cool, which means when they had cool, they wouldn't broach the subject, talk about it. They were just hoping it just die out, but it wasn't dying out. It was getting more clicks per day than anything.
Yeah, but you're talking about individuals now. You're talking about they as each individual, and they perceive it. And what if I rephrase it and say, I'll go along with what you said, 10th, and say, okay, losing, fine, if you want to frame it that way. What about losing too quickly?
Fine, that's even better. Losing too quickly, and my day was specific in the social media, Facebook, YouTube, all that stuff that started hiding the good channel. I remember when Flat Earth, the end of 2016, when I started hitting things on Flat Earth, all the good channels, all the good information was popping up right at the top because it was based on what other people were watching as well. So it would just rise to the top. Now you can't, it's 20, 30 pages, if you can even find it. So
I need a skeptic. Has anyone got Pete Shea as a contact? I need to get Pete Shea in here. He's got some interesting views on this controlled release idea. They're often saying,
I don't mind listening to a controlled release, but I'm not leaning that way whatsoever. I truly assess the situation as them losing their cool and getting involved because it was growing too fast.
Growing too fast, losing too quick, same thing.
Well, if it is some sort of control release, they're not telling the pawns like Michelle Thaler, Bill Nye, and Smoked Grass Tyson. I don't think they're out there putting that message out. If that's what they're doing, they're not doing that under their own volition.
Would you agree with me?
At least that's my opinion anyway.
Would you agree with me when I say that the logical or the sensible thing to do if you're trying to quell or stem the information, is that the right term, is to put the restraints in that they did in terms of not letting our information necessarily reach new audiences, but don't prop up the anti-flat earthers, because that would do more harm than good, in my opinion. Do you think that having, people like Simon Dan and Dave, whatever his name is, not a Professor Dave, and those other style YouTubers, do you think that actually helps the cause of stemming the flow of flat earth information, or do you think it actually hinders it?
Well, my assessment of that is the audience that they're after for that is the larger audience, which is they just need a title. They never watch these videos, maybe 20, 30 seconds at best, and then it's over. So all they want is Professor Dan and all these other guys to have a nice catchy title, and then you link that up to the higher ups like Neil deGrasse Tyson, Bill Nye, Michelle Thaler, and then people who just are perusing the internet see titles and official spokespersons, and then not so official spokesperson, but similar titles, and in their mind, through this mass advertising campaign of theirs, I run into them. You run into them. I can't even get a conversation because they've been thoroughly brainwashed by the advertising not to talk to me, because the very thing you said is true. The ridicule they would get if they took a position and studied it, if it happened to be flat earth, they're not willing to take that ridicule. So these titles help them stay away from further investigation and gives them a comfortable blanket to say, you guys are crazy.
So you're saying that at a subconscious level, they hear the person who's addressing something that we have done for the sake of argument, with the disdain and ridicule that's being put onto us, and a subconscious level they think, well, I definitely don't want to face that ridicule. Last week when I was highlighting it back to them, you don't want to concede because you'd inevitably face the ridicule you're dishing out.
Absolutely. I mean, I know growing up, I doubted everything like chocolate and fought it and challenged my science teachers. I knew other people watched me do that. Now, they weren't willing to do that. Why? They don't want the ridicule. They don't want to be Johnny on the spot who gets pinned down by a teacher with some college degrees behind them. I didn't care about who it was. I just said that don't make sense.
Care. Can I see that's the thing? Like you just said it, you didn't care. I said it at the same time. Like I didn't care about that. I have a question. I need my question addressed because what you're saying to me, based on my reality, makes no sense.
No, Righteous.
I thought Nathan asked the question if these baller YouTubers help our cause or not. Was that what you asked, Nathan?
Essentially, not when you say our cause. I phrased it the dissemination of the information. Does it help or hinder Flat Earth reaching the general public?
Well, I can give my opinion because to me, Red's rhetoric was quite vital for me into getting into Flat Earth. So I could just speak for myself.
You want to expand on that a bit?
I refused to watch FE videos when they were starting getting suggested in my feed, but then I seen the Red's rhetoric video that showed boats going over the curve, and I wanted to see that. And then when I clicked on that video and watched it, the follow-up video was journalism debunking that exact video. And I was like, no way, that can't be possible. But like my curiosity was piqued and I was like, okay, well, let's see how this guy's going to debunk something like that. And journalism sounded he sounded normal. He backed up his claims and he did a good job. And I was like, whoa, wait a second. Maybe this FE situation is not that crazy after all, so to say.
But that was my very point, Righteous, is that you are in the minority that kept digging and looking, whereas the majority is going to just see the title and say, you know what, that's enough for me. These flat earthers are crazy. Look at all this content on the internet from different people, including these people who started channels to help put down this fake lie of flat earth, and then they just stay away. So it's like a big net to catch the masses with enough titles, catchy titles in short little videos to make them feel like, okay, I don't need to research this. These people did it for me.
The great thing about that was, you see how that worked out though, right? Because the first video he saw was the Red's rhetoric video.
That's
right?
what I was going to go to.
Let's say Red's rhetoric didn't make that video, and all he saw was the Jaren video. Well, if he wasn't interested in flat Earth, he probably wouldn't have watched it. He was just like, I don't care. That's flat Earth. I don't care. Right?
Perfect.
But he got interested in the Reds video because it was debunking this thing called flat Earth that he doesn't know anything about, and it made him interested.
Right. Exactly. Hold on. I just want to reiterate. Chocolate made my point for me, bastard. I mean, chocolate's ace. Anyway, yeah, we're a very similar like mind, right? Exactly. So I was going to say exactly that, Chocolate. If the video that was watched by Righteous Force simply wasn't recommended to him at all, yeah, what would be the outcome then, 10th man?
Well, it goes to the person. Chocolate and I have similar testimonies in that we challenged it as we grew up. I'd have to know more about Righteous to see how he was with things along his life. So the whole point is, I'm talking more in the general sense of the masses and keeping them at quail. So what they do is, in this case, is they attack flat Earth, mock us, make you look silly if you even talk about it. And I have proof of this because when I bring it up to people, the first thing out of their mouth is, I've seen the stuff on YouTube. You guys are a joke. And I go, what have you seen?
Right, but that means you've already... Hold on. So you're fighting my argument. You're saying they've already had a soft introduction to it. They're not completely bewildered by you even mentioning it. They're not looking at you with a funny look. They're aware of the subject. They've been advertised
No, they are looking at me with a funny look.
Yeah,
that is the funny part.
My point is, you didn't answer the question. What would be the scenario if Righteous Force hadn't seen that Red Rhetoric video at all?
There's no way for me to tell you what the scenario
Well,
is.
he wouldn't,
It's not
he wouldn't
even part
know.
of what
He
my
wouldn't
point
have.
He might not have ever ended up being a flat earther.
He might not ever have even broached the subject.
No, that's not my argument. When they
It's
do
my
what
argument.
They do,
I know it's not your argument. It's mine.
No, I know, but I'm saying when they put out these videos that Righteous saw, they're going to have some loss. They're going to lose the Righteous because of it. But they're going to have more gains because most people are too chicken and too much afraid of ridicule, and they're not going to go.
Wrong. Stop.
Don't think about it like that.
Hold on, Chocolate. Hold on. You're going to nick my point again. I can feel it. Right. So no, that's wrong.
Let's go.
What's a gain? They're by default. If they're in the Western world, they're already a heliocentrist. So what gain? In other words, when you weigh it up and look at the net benefit versus the potential detrimental effect, then you go, there is no net benefit to them. Them being the globe Earth proponents promoting it.
And I totally agree with you there. But here's what happens. They make mistakes. They don't understand what they already have, which is 99% of the Western world. What they do is they become human beings for some reason at this point and are scared that this lie is going to be exposed. So they put out videos and actually hurt their cause by putting out the videos. There's no argument about that. They're going to lose some people because of it. But it's their mistake. It's like a fighter not having his guard up properly and makes a mistake. Oh, he got hit by a flat earther.
But you phrased it the correct way this time, 10th man. But you phrased it the right way round. So there will be losses as a result.
Absolutely.
Well,
Absolutely.
But previously you were like, well, the net gain is that they gain some on their side. What, gain some anti-flat earthers? Is that the objective?
No, I didn't say that. I said that because of... You've even said this. People just read the titles and they're done. They think they've done the 2 hours worth of watching of something. No, they just read a title on a video and it said something derogatory towards flat Earth. So that sticks in their subconscious. So those are the people that are easy pickings for them by having these things out there. They don't expect someone to actually watch it and then watch a rebuttal from another show like Jeranism. That happened, they're dead. Because now the guy watching it has two things to contrast. They don't care about that. They don't care about Righteous becoming a flat earther. They want the masses to stay globe.
Stay globe. In other words, the only potential outcome is a detriment to the globe religion. There's only losses. Potential losses. Because other than that, what have you got? There's no net gain. Hold on, 10th. There's no net gain. There's nobody going out evangelizing like a Jehovah's Witness to gain new followers of this faith. Everybody is carte blanche, part of it anyway. So therefore, there's only downside to the anti-flat Earth movement.
Hang on. But see, you're looking at it that way, which is a correct view if you look at it that way. I'm looking at it, and I'll re-say it again, my way, and it's a correct view as well, is they are seeing losses. And for them, they need some net gain, so they put this out because they're seeing too many losses because of the flat Earth phenomenon. And
but
so
the only way they could
make a mistake.
But the only way they could get a gain...
Nah, I don't think they're...
Hold on, Chocolate. The only gains to be had are people who convert back. That's the only potential plus in their column. So somebody who's descended away from the religion then comes back to the faith of globe. So that's the only tick marks you could put in the they're gonna gain column is that people being converted back. Well, we all know that the numbers in that regard are teeny tiny, virtually insignificant.
Correct.
Can you even consider that a gain? Because weren't they a glober before they became a flat earther? So it's not even a gain. You're just evened out.
Yeah,
right.
You're looking at it
right.
Listen, we're both right because you're looking at it in a critical way, and you're right. But I'm not looking at it in a critical way. I am saying they made a mistake, and their mistake was to draw attention to it by putting these things out. But now, what's the motive of why they put these things out? Because they saw the clicks and flat Earth going up on the internet, and they're saying, wait a minute, we got to do something. That was their mistake. I'm not saying it was right.
Yeah, that was your first
some
point.
Some of these guys have based their career on it now, so now they have to kind of perpetuate it.
That was
fight
that was 10th Man's first point. So initially,
happened.
10th Man said it was damage limitation. So damage limitation is now where we've come full circle with 10th Man's point being asserted. But I still think it's because there's only a net loss involved, as Chocolate's backing me on. Therefore, it's not necessarily just damage limitation. There must be an overall objective for the information to be permeated in any way, shape, or form when you can only have a net loss as a result of the information being put out there. There should just be outright censorship.
Well, hang on. Let's just take another subject that's currently on the table. The conservative and different types of YouTube channels that are being closed down by the techno companies. Why? Why are they closing it down? What's their point?
Well, it depends. If they're breaching terms of service in YouTube, and they're breaching terms of service. I don't really follow.
No, it's none of that. If you follow the news, I know you don't watch it, but I go on the internet and see these things. And so conservative shows, they say something, boom, shut down. It's called racist. It's just made up stuff. They shouldn't be shut down. They didn't violate anything. And so, the election is coming. So they want to shut down these channels that are alerting people to things. So why is that happening? Why on that subject of politics are certain viewpoints not allowed? I mean, that's against my First Amendment rights. I mean, whether you like it or not, I get to say what I want to say. You don't have to listen to it. And if I'm not breaching any terms of service, why are they still shutting it down?
True.
Because they don't want it out there.
Trump 2020. It's not true. You don't get First Amendment rights on YouTube.
No, I'm not saying YouTube. I'm saying here in the U.S., as a First Amendment, you get to say what you say. And YouTube is now showing their card. No, you don't get to say what you say. We determine what you get to say.
And
if you don't like it,
as
we're
it
just
should
going to
be.
shut you down.
As it should be. It's their platform, their rules. It's not protected by the First Amendment.
Now they're going to fall into a different category. I can't remember what the topic was, as a publisher or something else that they're also in trouble for. So here's the point. They allow all other stuff that other people have problems with, but now they won't allow this. So what my point is the action itself. Why are you shutting down a different of an opinion when it comes to politics? And if you carry that over to the previous subjects, that was their mistake. They saw flat Earth growing too much. They made a clumsy error, thinking we got to shut it down by doing this, and the other. All it did was draw more attention to it, and flat Earth grew even more.
Why do you assume that that's an error?
I watched it happen. I watched it happen.
But what makes you think that? I don't think that's an error.
Well, I'm not saying the one you think is wrong either, because like you said, you're thinking from a viewpoint of maybe this is a slow release of them allowing it, and they're playing both sides. I'm not against that either. All I'm saying is what I observe and what I know about human nature.
I don't necessarily think that. I'm just postulating it for this discussion.
Okay, yeah, but at least you brought it up.
I'm fighting that position. I'm fighting that position because it's me. It's brought it up. I couldn't. I looked through the chat to see if Pete Shea was in here because I was going to lay it at his doorstep. It's stuck at mine now, but that's fine.
No, it's
I just
my
think if somebody is scrolling on YouTube, right? Let's say somebody's trying to get into conspiracy theories and they're scrolling and looking for some type of live debate or something. Well, are you going to find a debate about Bigfoot with like 300, 400 people watching? Probably not. UFOs? Probably not. Right? But you'll see all these videos about flat Earth, and even if all the videos you're seeing is anti-flat Earth, well, why are there so many? Right? Why are there so many views? Why is it so big? Right? And then the people that are kind of unsuspected, they click it, and I mean, depending on them and their intellectual honesty, we'll see which way they go. But
you're right. I agree with you. I think that was their mistake.
Yeah, and now some of them have built that as a career, right?
Right.
Some of them are known now because of that. So now, how can they fall back on what video games or what's this guy Fight to Flair? He's going to go back to hosting video games on his channel? Like, what is? You know what I mean?
The cottage industry that got started is going to end when the truth comes out. So you're saying when it ends, what are these people going to go back to? They've already made a position and a statement.
Exactly.
Right.
And
No, I get it.
We're not going anywhere.
But I don't even think that way.
That's the other problem, right? Is that we're not going anywhere.
No,
like, there are
we're
still
not
people
going
that come in Nathan's chat that were here 4 years ago saying, oh, your show's dying. It'll be gone by next year. 4 years later, here they are still in the chat this morning. Right? So that's the problem. Especially because we're not going anywhere. They have to maintain their position and keep going. They got to keep on trucking.
but see, now you're looking at it from the point of what are they going to do and what are they not going to do should scenarios change in the future. I'm not looking at their channel or their income or what they get out of it or don't get out of it. I am just looking at, from a broad viewpoint, saying, it used to be you just clicked and saw whatever you wanted to see. Now it's very difficult to find the channel. Then they notifications weren't coming out for a while. Now they are coming out for a while. What's going on here? Someone's pushing buttons for some reason. Now, this is observed by everybody. Now, why they're doing it, how is it going to result? What are the different ramifications for both sides? That's still happening. So my assessment is they made a mistake by a knee-jerk reaction, and it brought more attention to us. This is what I'm saying. It worked against them.
Nah, I know that's your position, but I just, at least now that I'm, whatever the word is, steel manning this position, I don't necessarily think that it's a mistake on account of the fact that based on previous experience of other things that have come to fruition in a similar way, they're always orchestrated, they're always tightly controlled, they're always planned well in advance, they're always done by the numbers. So why would this be any different?
Right. I'm not saying that wasn't done that way, but they don't know the future and they don't know how it was going to be received, especially when it backfires on them.
You don't think they have a good understanding of how lies break down?
The powers to be that actually control who gets to see what, is all I'm talking about. The mistakes were so obvious, but the plan could have been great. But the outcome is like, oh boy, this had a totally different outcome than what we thought. Other things, this worked well, and the outcome was always perceived. But in this one, it backfired. It's one of those anomalies. It didn't work quite the way they thought, and they're going to go back to the drawing board.
Maybe.
But it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, they don't got an R, and they're too afraid to talk about it.
Yo, gentlemen. You hear
Hello.
me?
What's up?
Yo, hey, sorry. Long time listener, actually. Well, first time sitting in on the show. Just a quick thought. I'm kind of changing gears on you guys. But I was curious, have any of you ever given any credence to the growing zones and how it would support flat Earth versus globe?
Growing zones?
Yeah, growing zones like agricultural growing zones. For instance, you can grow the same crops in Western Oregon as you can grow in Northern Florida. And on the globe, you're looking at, however, basically Oregon is similar to Maine in latitude on the globe. You can't grow shit in Maine that you can grow in Florida.
Okay, and the conclusion from that is?
Well, that it just can't be a globe. I just think it's a good argument, but I've never, heard people talking about it, or if you guys have been into this a lot longer than me.
Is it kind of like how they say that the Arctic and the Antarctic should sort of be the same because it's a ball and it should relate in some way, but the climates are vastly different? So is it something like that when you say growing zones, like you should be able to grow this and somewhere else where it's like the same latitude type of thing?
Right. So the way that the agricultural like growing zones work is they will give you it's basically by a number, and it starts colder to hotter, and then gets colder again as you get further out. And it's just literally dictated by a number and what the average mean temperature year round is in that zone. So if you look at a globe, though, Oregon is basically the same latitude as Maine in the United States. I know some of you guys aren't from the U.S., so I'm not sure how.
I know what you mean.
helpful that
I'm
is
from
for
the
you.
US.
But yeah, if you look at your local growing zone for the UK or whatever wherever you guys are, I think you'll find it very interesting. The way the map is laid out on a globe does not work for the growing zones. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Right, I would agree with that overall. But there's also, look, wind streams and the layout of the mountain ranges on the surface. They matter a lot as to where all the warm air goes to and where the cold air flows to. So, they do kind of account for this.
No, I kind of see what you're saying now. When you distribute the masses in terms of what's happening and what's growing where, it's a similar idea to 5 years ago. Jaren showed this plotted out azimuthal equidistant projection of the Earth with all of the wind moving around on it and some of the various other conditions displayed on this particular layout. Now, when you put it on a globe layout, you've got things moving in all sorts of crazy directions. It seems totally chaotic. Nothing seems to make any sense. Yet you put it onto the AE projection, and they all seem to be going in a unified circle. Just constantly.
Yeah,
it
I've
all
seen
looks
that.
beautifully harmonious. Oh, okay, 10th has just brought up.
Okay, I see what you mean now.
You're saying-
I just
it's
put a
about the
picture
land
up there.
layout over the map as well.
I've got your picture.
When I
10th, I've got it up.
Yeah, when I call my nurseries to order my seeds, they say, what region are you in? I tell them my region, zip code, the whole thing. And then they say, okay, your growing zone is, and they give it a number, 8, 9, whatever. I'm in that region, 10, 8, the lower part there. Not low like Texas, but where California is. And then they'll say, well, this won't do good in your area because of the temperatures that you are, dealing with and the climate. And so pretty much, if you want success in growing things, you follow what the plant likes and doesn't like.
I have a request from the ballers.
Okay.
Could you please stop addressing it as the geometric edge and call it the geometric surface?
No. No, they like the word edge. Oh, just hold on. Do they not like the word edge? Can you establish that for me?
They absolutely hate the word edge. They don't believe spheres have edges.
Oh, isn't that beautiful?
Which,
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you for letting me know.
I don't know if it would really take away from the argument, but yeah, I think that's semantics, just arguing about edge and
No
surface.
worries. Yeah. Could you ask them to stop asserting the nonsense that came from the Flat Earth Society that boats would go over the edge of a flat Earth disk flying up through a vacuum? Can you ask them to stop saying that nonsense? See how you get on asking them to relinquish their straw man. Because the reason they have that straw man about boats going over a flat Earth disk edge is because boats go over their sphere edge. The edge would be the bit that's blocking the boats. The top of it is the edge. Yeah? The bit that they're measuring. See how much of this boat is blocked by the edge of my sphere? And they don't like that word. Excellent. Thank you so much for letting me know. I kind of already knew that. That's why I used the word. Because I know full well that they're not going to like being challenged to give us an edge when they have been spending the last 5 years demanding that we show them a boat going over a flat Earth disk edge. And that's precisely why they ask us for that. Because they do have an edge, with boats going over it, wouldn't you know?
Well, they don't think they can measure the edge because it's refracted now, I guess, too.
Yeah, they can. However, in geometry, that edge, let's just say it a few more times, their sphere edge, their globe edge, their Earth curve edge, is a tangent point. Yeah, before it, you can see up to it. After it, stuff's blocked because it's a physical edge. The edge of where you can see past. The globe edge, the geometric horizon, the tangent point. Well, that tangent point in geometry is going to have a straight line drawn to it. If they're saying it's refracted, that means it's deviated from straight. Well, it's no longer a tangent line, therefore you can't do geometry anymore.
So theodolites and sextants aren't measuring a dip angle. Is that what? Like, what? I don't know if I'm fully understanding this. Are theodolites and sextants measuring a dip angle, or are they measuring a refracted dip angle?
A dip angle? What? A dip angle to what? What's being measured in this dip angle measurement?
Well, if it's dealing with angles, it'd have to be geometry, right?
No. What are they measuring? What are they looking at? Dip angle of what? What's dipping? What's the angle to?
The horizon.
Oh, and is that a physical a physical edge then? A point that you're going to draw to, beyond which you can't see before you can? That's a physical sphere edge then, that horizon that you're getting this dip angle measurement to? It's a physical sphere edge.
And this is the point where it would get obfuscated into spheres don't have edges.
Sorry, so it doesn't have a tangent point for the geometry, you mean? When you say it doesn't have an edge, that edge, in the geometric terminology, would be a tangent point. And they're saying it doesn't have that. It's just another way of denying Earth curve, then. Saying we don't have an edge, but that's the bit that blocks boats and buildings, you fools. You need an edge to block boats and buildings.
Can I ask him a question?
Go ahead.
What is dip angle to you?
Are you saying to me or to the people that's making the argument?
To you. Well, let's start with you, and then you could speak for them since they're too chicken to come on.
I don't think it's physical. I don't think you're measuring anything physical. I think you're just, pointing something at the horizon and then, extrapolating from that.
Okay. And what would they say?
They would say they're measuring something, but then they turn around in the black swan argument and say it's refracted. That's where I'm having the kind of the problem trying to get through to them what they're actually saying.
No problem. Repeat after me. If the horizon is refracted, it is not geometric.
But let me finish with them, if I may. So you know what a right angle looks like, right?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you got 90 degrees above you. That's your zenith. And it's perpendicular to the horizontal, which is at 0. And the dip angle for a sextant is nothing more than getting you back to 0 straight. Because if you're on the sailboat 9 feet above the ocean, as you take your sextant reading, you go to your almanac and you minus 9 feet. So you're at flat level, sea level. So that's that bottom line that you're perpendicular to, which your 90 degree is a straight line. And then your 90 is your zenith. And the angle in between is where your sighting is, whether it's the sun or the moon or a star. So sextant can only work on a flat surface.
Yeah, that was one of my arguments when QE first come out with the black swan. When I heard him say geometric, I felt like I understood the art. I was in the middle for a long time, and when I heard them deny that the Earth that the Earth was geometric, it about like knocked me out. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, because their claim to prove the Earth is a sphere is a geometric claim.
Yep.
Yeah.
They had to go out of their way to tell us how the horizon we see is apparent. Really? Wasn't that what we were saying?
Well, the geometric horizon
years?
would be apparent based on height. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it would be if we had one, but we don't see it, therefore it's not apparent. Now, all horizons by definition are apparent, meaning you can see them, but their horizon, the geometric sphere Earth edge horizon, is not apparent, and therefore not a horizon. We do have horizons, it's just not the globe Earth sphere edge horizon. That only exists in maths.
Well, it's kind of like arguing with a 3-year-old that Santa doesn't exist. I feel like it's almost a lost cause on some people.
It is and it isn't, because you can realise that you're dealing with a zealot that says, no, it's refracted. It's like, yeah, but if you're not recognising that that's you relinquishing the required geometry that you use to assert Earth's a sphere, if you don't recognise that, you, the individual, then go in peace. You're ours untenable. Deal with it however you want. You know, it's not really our responsibility to take that person by the hand and say, no, you must understand that you're actually destroying your model by saying it's refracted, because your model's geometric and you must have geometry to make the model work. When we put to you that we require perspective to be accounted for, you tell us we don't need perspective, our model's geometric. Therefore, perspective isn't required, it's just simple geometry. So that's the assertion when you're dealing with perspective. But when it comes to the actual requirement of that geometry, you don't actually have it beyond the maths. It doesn't exist in physical reality. So yeah, absolutely, John. When they say, oh, well, we're not going to see the geometry, you're like, what? That's the claim that you use to make the assertion that you're on a sphere in the first place. So you're telling me that we don't have physical geometry? You're telling me we don't have physical Earth curve then? Well, that's the end of your religion. The fact that you want to tell me refracted, that's your problem. Your rebuttal destroys your own religion.
Yeah, and I would agree with you, except that they come to a flat Earth channel to spout their nonsense. So it's like they're seeking this out. I don't understand it.
Well, they're seeking their own confirmation bias. The videos I see get made about me are people rehashing old arguments and slipping them in amongst a load of ad homs. And I chuckle. I'm like, man, this guy's in pain. This person doesn't want what we have said to register, so they want their own confirmation bias projected out into the world to make it more powerful. Because they're lying to themselves. They're telling themselves that what we've said is incorrect. And even though we've challenged every single word that they present as though it's a rebuttal, it's not. We've challenged what is effectively the rebuttal being reasserted, like a circle jerk, in the thing they're challenging. They'll just ignore it. Often they'll play it. People like Simon Dan, when he addresses me, will play my rebuttal in his video and then reassert the argument that's being defeated and has been presented by him. That's how stupid they are. But by putting it out there, saying this person's wrong and saying gravity, for example, it's just another way of getting through that day by reaffirming your own cognitive bias. It takes away a little bit of pain. And when everyone gets underneath you in your video in the comments, if you're one of these people making those videos, and says, yeah, stupid flat earther, you go, yeah, strength in numbers. But you're not proving anything.
The real pain is, though? The real pain is that the show is here every day for them to come back to. Because like I mentioned earlier, some of these guys have been in the chat 3-4 years. Still saying, oh, flat earth is going down, it's nonsense, we're just laughing at your show. Meanwhile, 4 years later, here they are, still in the show, still keeping up to date with the flat earth debate every day, right? Because they have no choice.
Yeah.
Because they're hoping maybe one day somebody will come in and have a great argument that will stump us, right? That's the hope. That's why they turn it on every day. They're not entertained by this, right? They're in pain. I agree.
Yeah, and their drug of choice to relieve the pain is to come here and ad hom us or reassert their arguments that have been defeated. But it's a less and less potent drug. It's a less and less reasonable pain relief each time it's utilised in that way. And because it's less and less effective, they have to come back more and more and more and do it more and more and more often. Because in their mind, telling us that day that we're stupid might eventually affect the outcome or have us disappear. And they even express that. They even tell us how they want us to vanish and by their wishful thinking. In a year from now, you'll be gone. Yeah, you hope. You hope we'll be gone in a year from now. Because it's painful to watch us. I don't care if the ghost people are gone in a year. Do you care? Do I go in the ghost comments, videos streaming about ghosts, going, in a year from now, people talking about ghosts will be nothing?
Yeah. Well, see, I hung around
So they don't like
in
the word edge,
and
huh?
listened for like 2 years and didn't say anything. For almost 2 years, I listened to this, and I don't understand why people are not getting it. I don't know. I think it's something fundamental to making a claim in front of people and pride getting in the way.
No, they know what they'll get. They know, we had discussed it earlier. At a fundamental level, when they're ridiculing us, in the back of their mind, they know that they don't want to be a part of that. So when they get to a point where they would have to concede, i.e. they get demolished in the debate, the concession would mean that they would be opening themselves up to the most horrendous ridicule from their own side. That's why they go round in the same circle 10 times. They can't possibly concede. They'd be open to abuse. So they don't want to. It's fear.
Agreed. You got to double down in that spot.
It's crazy. They would rather take the abuse of looking ridiculous and saying the same stupid thing again and again every day for years than take the abuse of, oh, I actually accept the reality that as it presents itself to me, but I can't take that ridicule. So I'll take the other ridicule where I'll say things like a shoe is a natural phenomenon and what the hypothesis is, it's a shoe. I'll say things like that all the time. No problem. But if my side starts telling me, oh, you're a stupid flurfer, nah, I can't deal with that. Run away.
Yeah. The ridicule level for declaring something that is so overtly stupid is less on their side than the ridicule you'd simply receive for declaring that you're a flat earther. Just declaring you're a flat earther would result in horrendous abuse, whereas declaring that a shoe is a natural phenomena probably won't even get mentioned by your own side. So which is the lesser of two evils?
Water vapor isn't gas.
Yep. Professor of hydrology, Just Phil Bell, can laugh along with everybody on the panel saying how stupid we are for declaring that water vapour is gas, and declare quite boldly that that's the stupidest thing he's ever heard. Now, again, from their side, that if we did that, the backlash would be never-ending. I say divide when I should say times, or the other way around, and that is never-ending video fodder. A slip of the tongue. Now, 3 days of assertion that water vapour isn't gas, that won't get them any ridicule. Maybe from us, but they don't care, because they automatically consider us stupid. Now, that automatic assumption is something that's going to be in the back of their mind that they definitely don't want to be subject to when they're in a position that they have to concede that something that they hold near and dear in their religious faith is actually fundamentally incorrect, and demonstrated so. Much better to just assert the original argument 5 more times, because then your own side won't see you giving in to a point that would leave them in a worse position for their own ridicule. So they've got to get you, if you're conceding, and make sure you understand how your concession wasn't good for the overall cause. This didn't help my cognitive. Here we go. Simon Dan made a recent video about when the penny drops. A really good video when a guy had to actually concede that he was incorrect and made those concessions after only a couple of attempts. Well, that got a follow-up video from Simon Dan, because that's not going to help his cognitive pain. Definitely don't want the guy on your own side conceding that space can't be real. So better make a response video and declare gravity again. And make sure that the person who's made that assertion gets an absolute pummeling for their stupidity. In other words, I got a whole load of, I made about $5 out of it, in tertiary advertising from Simon Dan sending people to my video with a guy conceding that space is fake from the globe side. That needs addressing. Because that's not helping any of them, right? That's going to leave those guys in total disarray, cognitive pain. So we've got to address it. Quick, sharp.
I was just going to say, and that right there is Simon Dan showing his pain by having to make a video of it. Because he could have just left it alone.
Exactly.
They didn't have to say anything, right?
Share your pain, Simon Dan. And with that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G Plus panels for making today's after show possible. Of course, a massive thank you to all of you in the Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!